Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Mark Hoffmeyer.
And I am Jay Cluett.
And joining me is a man that I've spent a lot of time with in the last 5 years. It's John Levingood.
Hey folks, how's it going?
Welcome to the show, John.
How you doing? And the reason I say that is because you and I have been on the MFF podcast since, 2015?
Yeah, I was reflecting on that. I've probably been on 200 to 230 of those episodes, I'd estimate, yeah.
Somewhere around there. And we've also been on MF Movies, Films, and Flicks since 2010. So if you're curious, go ahead and follow John. He's John's Horror Corner on Twitter. He has about 70,000 followers that are just raving mad for his reviews. They love you. You have a following, John.
I guess.
He's always bashful, all right? So John's always like, nah. So I'm telling y'all, if you're listening right now, John Levingood, John's Horror Corner. It's not a corner anymore. It's not even a nook.
It's the corner of the throne room where my throne is.
It's John's room, not corner anymore.
When I sit on my throne, I drink Old Rasputin with a monocle and I judge horror movies, as he used to say.
Yeah, John right now is sitting in a chair that's just laughably oversized. And he's just sitting in front of a microphone. And he is just sitting there with a monocle, a chalice of Old Rasputin stout, just ready to tear apart Deep Blue Sea.
It is still daylight as we're recording, so instead of an Imperial Stout, I have a 10% triple IPA.
Whoa. New Rasputin, not old Rasputin.
Right.
The concept of a horror nook is terrifying.
Yeah, John's Horror Nook?
Yeah.
I mean, the nooks are where things lurk, right? That's where the lipstick demon was hiding when you first saw him.
That's where you find the crannies, too.
Like a horror alcove.
That's where grudge ghosts, like you see a little dark spot in the ceiling in the corner in that nook, and then it's a dark spot that grows, and then it's hair, and before you know it, you got a croaking grudge ghost coming at you. Some kid meows right behind you, scares the crap out of you.
John's Horror Nook sounds horrifying, but John's Horror Alcove sounds pretty pleasant.
Yeah, I can see it. It's nicely decorated, I think.
I feel like John's
It's
Horror
good storage.
Nook. John's Horror Nook is when I was a preteen and I was doing goosebumpy level and PG-13 level horror movies. And then John's Horror Nook is a room that smells of leather and mahogany, and I'm wearing like sweaters with elbow patches on them, and I'm drinking some whiskey that you set me up with. And then we're calmly discussing a movie before it rips us apart unwaringly at the end.
You've got a fireplace there, a mantelpiece with the lightning cracking outside. Got a whiskey,
huge fireplace,
yeah,
like that you could walk into, like in The Haunting.
You
I
get decapitated.
want Mark's Deep Blue Sea Alcove. Just a bunch of tanks, just relaxing.
Mark's Deep Blue Aquarium.
Oh, need it.
You could
the
keep
whole
the
house.
model shark in the alcove, I think.
Think about this. So since we're on chapter 17...
It's the halfway point of the film. The exact halfway point of the chapters.
I'm going to miss this show. I mean, we're flying by. So we're halfway through, but it basically revolves around Preacher being attacked in an oven. But I would love to have an oven aquarium. Have the guys from Tank come in and build the kitchen in my house, but make it an aquarium. So I can always be remembered of this fight.
So it's basically an oven with a fish tank screensaver on it. That's what you're describing it.
Yeah, I mean, that saves money. I can cook and watch fish. That was my high school yearbook quote.
You can cook them. Okay.
One of these days, I want to own an oven that has a fish tank LCD screen.
Most likely to.
Deepest, roastiest.
Me holding the Deep Blue Sea.
Your oven's like a shark tank.
Oh.
Fish tank.
All right, so
Broilist haggissist.
before I like to do these things on this show, John. So in this, how would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being poor, 10 being amazing, how would you rate Scoggins' button pushing?
Oh, so we're talking when he was asked about the sub thing.
And he pushes 6 buttons.
So, okay, now I got to say, I've been following this podcast religiously, and to prepare for this, I deliberately did not watch the whole movie or the movie leading up to this because I didn't want to blur myself with additional tangents and discussion. So I just watched this scene.
Okay.
I don't know, 12 times this week. So I'm seeing him push the button, so I'm not really thinking about how it was earlier in the movie. And when he did it, I got to tell you, I did not question his button pushing in the moment because there was substantial dialogue happening while he did it, right? With Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, right. Franklin's asking him questions, and he just goes around the corner and he's punching buttons aggressively. Like nothing could have exploded with enough force to knock that down. And so I wasn't thinking about it, but now that you've mentioned it, this button pushing seems 100% gratuitous, because I don't know are these the buttons to lower or remove the now broken and clearly destroyed sub? The lights are on. What could he be doing? So I guess in terms of the button pushing being gratuitous and distracting, they did a great job. But in terms of actual purposefulness, it seems horrible, like a 1.
3 of the buttons don't work. The last one he
anything?
palms is just a little knob. You're supposed to turn. He just baps it, and it doesn't do anything.
Like a knob, like playing Golden Tee to drive.
Yeah, he baps it. He baps the thing, right, Jay?
He hits it with the back of his hand and in the palm. Because the first time it didn't work, and then the second time, I think it still. I kind of feel sorry for him. The emphasis he's putting on the words, I feel like Russell Franklin's been bothering him for a while. I don't know how long they've been in this room, but it's edited in between Preacher fighting the shark, so it can't be that long if we take time being linear. But he's like, there's nothing enough force to move that damn sub. He's like beleaguered, as though like Russell's like, but what could have done it? How? Certainly the shark could have done this, and he's just been over it again and again and again. And he storms off, and I love how Sam Jackson just kind of. He follows him as though he's about to say something else and continue bothering Scoggins.
I guess that is what's happening, but it's kind of like the CEO pestering the full-time engineer or the IT network manager or something.
Speaking as an engineer who has a CEO who does this often, yes, it's exactly like that. It's very
like one guy wants answers, but the other guy doesn't have a good way to communicate them to him.
Just wants to go and try and find something else that can help.
So he just baps buttons arbitrarily, trying to get him away.
What do you? Oh my God! Wait, maybe this is a 10 out of 10 on button pushing. What if he went to push those buttons to look like he was busy doing something in hopes that Franklin would leave him alone and instead turn his questions to, I don't know, Janice or something? Because Janice in this scene, she's only in like part of it, right? Most of it's Preacher. But in this portion of this chapter, Janice is just, she's so antagonistic. So I've never analyzed a scene of Deep Blue Sea this much. I haven't done all the other scenes like you guys. But in this scene, she's just understandably so, but despicable to me.
But see, like, so in the deleted scenes, the way she's playing it, we learn that she's pregnant with Jim's baby. And then we learn that Susan McAllister lied to all of them about making him smarter, and Jim lied too. But then it ends with Jim dying. So at the moment, she's really pissed off at Susan.
And she's blaming Susie for it. But just watching this scene over and over and over again, because now it feels like I've seen an hour of this scene. So to me, it's like a whole movie's worth of her being completely the opposite of constructive. And but I understand it too. And I remember your discussions from the previous episodes a bit about her kind of development in the scenes that we do and don't see. But it's interesting. But again, I think that Scoggins was just like, maybe if I just start toggling something, he'll leave me the hell alone.
Because in the commentary, Sam Jackson normally picks up on when Michael Rapaport is just flicking things and doing things he doesn't understand, and that doesn't come up in this scene. So I feel like he is doing things intentionally, and it's Rapaport's doing stuff he wants to do here.
So like the script notes in brackets says like. And Scoggins attempts to initiate the sub-release.
Yeah.
And so he's just doing his personal script note version of that.
Oh, man. I got watch Star Wars again. Just watch them all. There is so much flicking of switches.
Oh, especially in the prequels. You go to Phantom Menace is full of it.
Everyone. But I tell you what, though, Wedge, he rarely flicks switches. Wedge only flicks switches when he needs to. Going in for attack. Flip.
Yeah.
And then he's I'm leaving, flip. He's never just pushing buttons.
He can do things with one switch. It takes Luke Skywalker 20 switches to do.
He's like the Iceman to the Maverick, right? Iceman, you just see him do like the one quick thing, whereas Maverick is getting in there with Goose and they're like flipping 89 little tab switches.
Yeah, and only one of them lost their co-pilot. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, that was one switch too many, Maverick.
He's like, Goose, you just flicked all of our reserve oil out, or gas out of our thing. I can't stop hitting the switches.
I see a button, I just gotta press it.
Wait, so
pieces of tape on all of them in their things from now on?
We're going with, though, right? Like, it had to be the shark that dismantled, knocked down that sub somehow.
It had to have been.
So I feel like this shark, I don't feel like it did that in one try. I know it's big, and I know it's very smart. It might have paid attention like a velociraptor. It might have done some test runs, almost like someone practicing spiking a volleyball without a ball there to tap it and feel where it was more or less reinforced. But I still feel like that's a huge chunk of metal. That's a tremendous thing. I just think it would have been scratched up, like 47 meters down part 2. Those blind Aztec submerged chapel sharks, whatever. I feel like it would be really scratched up on a side after accomplishing this feat.
Yeah, at least some, like, teeth marks. But yeah, I mean, there was a giant thick grate covering the floor in a previous scene, so the sharks have had to overcome that as well. Which that would have taken. I think you can kind of see it in a shot where like Susan's almost stood on it.
A chunky grate, in your words.
Chunky grate, yeah. And so the sharks had to like get through that. That would have taken a huge undertaking, and then leap up and get this. Although I feel like it could have just been one. The sub was just hanging about 6 or 7 feet above the floor level, so they could just jump up and grab it with their teeth and just kind of hang.
I think it would take 80 sharks of weight. That thing's so heavy.
These are pretty big sharks.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the shark. Sometimes they're big.
Gotten it swinging, right? The shark's on it, swinging back and forth.
I guess. Yeah. I think that I would have liked a little more debris instead of it just looking like a support broke and the sub thing just fell. And I'd like to see, some scratches, some teeth, and then later we see a shark that's a little scuffed up on a side. That'd be very satisfying for me. Just that little. It's like the chili's awesome, but if you just put in that sprig of thyme, half the people don't notice, but I'd really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, are we in agreement that somehow the shark jumped up and just latched onto it and just hung there and shook around and then pulled it down?
It's either that or underwater Cthulhu came in for an assist.
Well, one shark could have jumped up and grabbed it, and then the other two. Or one, because one of them's bothering preacher, like pull the other shark down from underneath. So it's like a team.
Right, like they pulled a cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
So Sly jumps up to grab it, and then the other shark jumps up, and Sly shark is holding on to that shark.
Yeah.
And then that shark that's all the way in the water is like whipping its tail to create downward force.
Exactly. Yes.
Right, like a rocking, and then the chains that are holding there, the suspensions, just all that toggling. Break it down, right?
I can imagine it being an expensive scene to film, so I understand why they didn't include it in the film.
I can appreciate that. I mean, that's why Dr. Evil had them shut the doors before the sharks with lasers got Austin Powers. It's just budget.
Yeah, they were ill-tempered too. You don't want to mess with that. So we're saying the big shark jumped up, latched its teeth on, and then another shark jumped up with its fins, lashed itself around the other shark's tail, and then they just started shimmying.
Right. He gummed him though, so he wouldn't hurt his friend.
Yeah, I think the big shark is long enough that it could be hanging from the sub and still be in the water. Like the tail of it is in the water, so the second shark just carefully grabs hold of the big shark's tail and just thrashes until this happens.
This is amazing.
There we go. I think we fixed that.
What do you think the sharks would think of Michael Rappaport's button pushing? Scoggins button pushing.
Well, given the level of intelligence that this podcast has made most illustrative to me, I've got to say, I think they'd look at him and be like, that's not the right sequence.
He could do this so much more efficiently. He could do the same thing in 3 buttons.
That's not the right
He hasn't read the manual for this place.
They're just eyeballing him.
I don't think he knows what he's doing. Did he just do Knight to King 4? I
love it.
Is he trying to castle?
Yeah. What do they think about Scoggins overall?
Same as